Well, welcome everybody. I was just telling Chief Krieger that just on the other side of this wall here, when the Klondike fire first took off, there was 200 firefighters out there in that little spot, and they were getting their orders, and I got to shake hands and just be around some of those people. It was just, how's the volume here, by the way? Okay? Maybe we got to hold it real close here, guys. Yeah, you're always a big help. Anyway, it was just quite an honor. One of them handed out flags, and he said, "These are for my kids, and I'm going to come back home and see them." I never forgot that. You know, we have the maps here, the Klondike and the Chetco Bar Fire. We had our first annual meeting July 7th of 2017. And everybody that was here, just about except for Wade and Dan, I think everybody was at that meeting. And 5 days later, we discovered the Chetco Bar Fire. And some of you might remember, on August 21st, 22nd, it traveled, headed west, 18 miles in less than 40 hours. And it made a dramatic turn, abrupt turn, and headed towards Cape Ferrelo. And we have the Cape Ferrelo key firefighters here, and the wind died down. You know, I used to say that one of these days I'm gonna write a song that's gonna be called Curry, Wind, and Fires instead of Earth, Wind, and Fires. But you know, you hear the east winds, you hear the Chetco effect, and you know, the bottom line is we have had 3 tremendous, horrific fire years in the last 4 years. Everybody knows what happened in the valley, and almost 2,000 homes were lost. I got a story on that later, but I really want to do introductions because I'm not sitting right with these guys. I just told them in my next life, if I'm man enough to be a firefighter, then I'll sit with them, okay? So I'm gonna sit off to the side here. But I'm proud of all you guys. And on the very end there, Wade Mcmaster, we floated him downriver about a year ago, and I don't think he'll ever ride through Blossom Bar with me again. Dan Quinones, I mean, we were here 100 days straight, a little over that on the Klondike fire. And we were sitting next to each other almost every day, and he'd rib me. Because we get here at 6:15, 6:30 every morning, he'd rib me to keep me awake. Those are the days when we had 9 or 10 different 14-day fire teams here. And it was over 4 months, over 130 days that they battled that fire. And it was a consecutive year, as you all know, right after 2017 and the CBF fire. So then we have Merv George. I remember when he come on board, I didn't have a very good relationship with the Forest Service at all. And he said, "I will take care of things," and he has. We have to help him hide equipment sometimes just so that other fires, you know, other teams that need the equipment and the resources, that they don't take it first. But he's done 3 years here, really building up that inventory. Very proud of the Rangers and the system that he's put in the 5 districts that he has. It covers 4 different counties, including part of Delaware and actually Siskiyou County too, in California, just a little bit of those counties there. Then we have Mike Robinson. He is the director of Coos, I didn't say it, Coos Forest Protective Association. I was trying to get that Curry in there, and Derwin, he reminds me, no, that's not the correct name. But Mike and I go back many years, renewed friendship, and just to see the effort. We got a chance to take him and Merv upriver a couple of falls ago to the lodge, and just being around those guys and talking about fire prevention, forest management, and how to attack and put fires out. It was quite educational and something I enjoyed very much, just listening to them. Jim Watson, Curry County Fire Chief. Jim has been serving Curry County for, I think, over 20 years here, about 30, and we're proud to have him here. Tyson Krieger, Chief of the Gold Beach Fire Department. I've followed him and watched him grow over the years, and we're likewise quite lucky to have him on our team. What's your name again, sir? Derwin Boggs has become a terrific friend over the years, and really glad to know him. He's the director of Curry Forest the Gold Beach part of Coos Forest Protective Association. But when he has a fire, he's right there, and boy, if anybody means business, it is absolutely Derwin. Russell, would you stand up? Russell Wilstead, Fire Management Officer, Gold Beach Ranger District, but he's famous for getting recruited about anywhere he's needed during fire season. So back to the, on your chairs there, you'll see the Alameda Fire, just some clips. You know, it's not to dwell on this, but we never want to forget what happened to those two communities and the lives lost. Oregon had this unbelievable fire year right in the middle of the COVID year, and you know, it's like a lot of people knew that fire was going to come and hit Oregon sooner or later, and we're not through it yet, which is why we're having this meeting tonight. And I just can't thank y'all enough for being there. Pass those around. It's just a reminder. I was on news yesterday, I think it was yesterday, and you know, we've always said that if you want to stop the smoke in the valley, the Rogue Valley, you need to stop the fires in the Rogue River Wilderness, the Siskiyou National Forest, the backcountry of Curry County. And so again, that's why we're here. I've been impressed since 2017. 5 consecutive years we've had this meetings to be aware and understand how we can improve. And I've seen them work together incredibly well, and they're always looking for ways to make it even better. Mr. Richard Little, he's the head of the Pistol River Fire Department. And then my buddy from Cape Ferrello. Would you stand up and introduce yourself and your buddy Lester? Really glad to have you guys here. Herr Wurscher? Wurscher? Okay. That's got to be German, right? And we're going to, you know, part of the one person that could not make it is Mariana Ruiz Temple from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's office, and I'm going to read a quote from her in a little bit. Who am I forgetting here? We got Guy McMahon, glad to have you here. Cam Lynn, Dean of Southwest Oregon Community College Curry Campus, Dean Bunn, and Justin Helberg, he's head of Curry County on the Oregon State Parks now. So quite a team. Glad to have you all here. I'm going to ask each one of you, starting with Merv and then Mike, and then just take turns. Microphone's right there. Don't be bashful. Tell us your plans and your outlook for the 2021 season, if you would. And thanks again, Merv, for all you've done for. He's the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest Supervisor.
Testing 1, 2, 3. So good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you and to be with you tonight without having an actual smoke column with us. Seems like it's been a long time since I had a chance to stand in front of a group, so I'm also appreciative of that. I don't know about you all, but it has definitely been an interesting past year and a half. So that said, what are we looking at this year? The weather experts tell me that it's dry. And guess what? It's drier than last year. We did get a little reprieve this past weekend though, so that was much appreciated. Because the way that I work on this is when you're in fire season, any day that's not hot or it has moisture involved, that's a victory in my book, because that's one less burn day. What I've learned about being on the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest, and this is my 4th fire season with you all. I joined you all on May 13th of 2018, the season after the Chetco Bar Fire. But I watched you from across the way, because I was the forest supervisor on the 6 Rivers National Forest. And I should tell you that this is my 28th fire season. And most of my experience has been in Northern California, which is also very fire active. And that shapes the way that you view forest management. Because we're coming into the fire season right now, but this is where your defense goes on the field. Your offense is what you're doing out there when it's not fire season. And hopefully that's reducing hazardous fuels. To me, it's not complicated. You gotta reduce the inventory of hazardous fuels or you're going to keep seeing more catastrophic fire. It's simple. It's simple math. But here's the tricky part of that. Getting people to agree on how to manage public lands is the most difficult thing in the world. Sometimes you would think it's simple math and common sense, but we all have different values. We all come from different backgrounds. We all use the forests for different things. Some people make a living out there. Some people want to go out there with their OHV. Some people want to go out there and not see another person. Some people want to make firewood. Some people just want to go out and enjoy the forest. And see, I get to hear from all of them. My job, people ask me all the time, what is it that you do for a living? I think that I'm almost like an emergency room doctor, because you don't know what's coming through the door or what your next email or that phone call is going to be. It could be great news. It could be your weather people telling you it's raining out here. I'll take the 10 inches that happened over here this past weekend. So we know it's dry. We know that we've had 3 mega fires out of the last 5 years. Here's what you need to know what we are doing about that. Before Labor Day last year, so I have 2 fire seasons that I like to look at for last year. Before Labor Day, on the Rogue Siskiyou National Forest, we had 36 fires that none of you heard about. We lost a total of 3.5 acres before Labor Day. We were aggressive. When we get fires, we're trying to put them out as quickly and as safely as we can on this forest. Because you know what happens when you don't? Of course you do. We thought we were doing good, and come Labor Day, which traditionally is on the tail end of a fire season. Traditionally, it used to be fire season would start June 1 and end about October-ish. It's not that way anymore. This year, fire season started the first week of June, according to ODF. And fire season for the last 2 years has definitely gone into late November. So we're putting fires out as quickly and as safely as we can, because here's what happens when you don't do that. These fires are going to get big, and then when there's a competition for resources, because are we the only place that gets on fire? Here's a website that I want you all to familiarize yourself with. It's called NIFC, National Interagency Fire Center. And what NIFC will tell you is what is the preparedness levels for the different regions in the country. When there's no fires happening, middle of winter perhaps, it's usually preparedness 0. The highest level is preparedness 5. And in the last 28 years of me navigating catastrophic fires, we're starting to see nationally our country staying at PL level 5 for much longer. So what that means is when places like us, who have more trees than people, and that's why we live here, we lose out when Portland's on fire, when the Bay Area is on fire, because they have life and property that are at risk. And when you have life and property at risk, they will get the priority every time. That's one of the reasons why you can't manage wildfires in the middle of summer around here. I'm a firm believer of that. And I will tell anybody that who's trying to convince me otherwise. Because here's the other thing I've learned in the last 3 seasons of being here. If you have an ignition source on the landscape and you get the trifecta of what we in the fire suppression world fear the most, 100-degree weather, single-digit relative humidities, and an east wind, which is known as a Chetco wind around these parts. East winds are coming over from land. They're usually a lot warmer than a wind that's coming from the west that's visually over water. You have an ignition source on your landscape and you get the trifecta, you're going to have a mess. Those of you that lived through Chetco Bar seen that. Our models, FS Pro Run it's called, said there was less than a 0.01% of what happened would actually happen. So computers don't always get it right. Klondike. We had a team who thought the Klondike was buttoned up. Second week in October, traditionally the end of fire season. We had the trifecta. That fire made a run, resurrected from the dead. We had Cold Trail 200 yards on it. Resurrected from the dead and made a push toward Agnes. And then we all know what happened last year on Labor Day. So as a student of fire behavior, I'm looking at those things. It's why you can't manage a wildfire in our area in the middle of summer. Those are bad fires in my worldview, because there's a difference, because not all fire is bad. Good fire is when you're putting it on the ground intentionally, when the ground and the weather is cooler. You have more control of it. And we need more of it. We need more good fire, and we need to keep putting out bad fires. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing on the Rogue River Siskiyou. Thank you very much. I'll stand by for questions.
Following Merv.
Next year you get to go first.
And I fully expect no applause when I'm done. Welcome, Curry County. It's nice to be back to Curry County. I fought fire down here for a number of years. Mike Robinson with Coos Forest Protective Association. So from '89 to 2000, I was down here working on fire. So thanks, Court, for inviting us all, putting us in a room. It's almost like herding cats, but you do a great job. And I was mentioning to Merv that you know our names. And that's not maybe good, but it is good. You've been totally engaged in what we do over the last 5 years, and it's a huge commitment. And you're to be commended for your efforts here in this county. So thank you for that work. I work with 3 other counties, and I have good relationships with all of them, and you are the most committed, so thank you for that. So, but I will blame something on Court, which was in 2017, getting us together on July 7th, and us sitting in front of all you and talking about how good things were going and how much rain we've had and how we're working together to make sure we don't have large fires on the landscape, and then we end up with Chetco Bar. So sorry about that, and I am blaming Court. So, and I would note that in 2017, we had 100 inches of rain that year. And if anybody's been keeping track of rainfall, I know Lee Riddle does, we are way, way behind on rain. And what a blessing it was just to get what we got. Because we were on life support on the coast for lack of rain and for a bad fire season in front of us now. So we received rain, and we know it's a blessing, and yet it will not stay with us for very long. And because we've been in this drought condition for the last several years, we're going to see another dry summer. So be prepared for that. And I like to look at it as a climatic funk. You know, some people will talk about global warming. I don't know, but I do know since 2013, we have been seeing much drier summers, much harder fire seasons, and more stubborn fires that need to be put out early, and with the attention that all these people can give it. So with your help, hopefully we can be successful. So I would say that, and because of that climatic funk, I think that we're doing some things. 2017 in the Chetco Bar Fire, what an eye-opener. I have so much passion for putting fire out, and it still hurts me what happened on Chetco Bar. The families that lost their homes, the timberland that was burned. We're still trying to put that land back together today, and the people are still trying to recover from that. So that's the impact on our local communities of fires on the landscape. So one of the things that Merv and Dan and all of us work together on, and Wade locally and Russell, we know that an early season fire is not to be messed with. You heard Merv mention any fire, you know, there's bad fire and good fire, and we know damn well that a fire at the first part of July bedded in that wilderness is not a good thing. And you can be confident that there's going to be the right appropriate action on any fire like that in the future in that neck of the woods. So just be, we will be on that. I will guarantee you that. So for 2020, we had rain in 2020 in June, just like we had this year. We had no fires in June. And yet we end up in September with a 100-year weather event that just was not good for Oregon at all. We lost all of talent in the Medford area. I haven't even had the nerve to go down and look at that yet. I'm sure some of you have. It's got to be just terrible. I was doing a briefing yesterday for some agency administrators around the state, and we had the gentleman that was working on the fire there at Lincoln City on Labor Day. It's called Echo Mountain. 300 homes gone. And and if the wind had not quit blowing, it would have burnt down Lincoln City. So we are passionate about what we do, but we also understand we have to be a little bit humble. There are things that are out of our control, and we will do our damnedest in those times when things are not under our control to get it back. And we'll also use that and put it in our toolbox for things we can do in the future better. For example, can we work better? Probably with the power companies. Probably, right? We've saw the lessons learned in Northern California and California with the companies that are browning out communities now because of fire danger. On the morning of the Labor Day event, I got a hold of Derwin, and I told him, I said, get a hold of Coos Curry Electric and see if they'll shut the power grid down. I knew they couldn't probably do that, and we also contacted PP&L. And so that is something we have to work toward as a community, right? I mean, because you just can't shut a power grid down. People on oxygen, people depend on power. So it has to be a planned way of doing this. So we have work to do in that arena, and we will work toward that. It's important for our community. So we ended up with a little fire last year from the power line, the east winds, and it only was 300 or 400 acres, so it didn't even make the map, right, compared to what happened in the Cascades. But it was an event for us, and so we rely on our partners a lot in our success. It's not just CFPA. We rely on the community to prevent fires in the summer, no burning, that sort of stuff. Maintaining, vehicles and things. We rely on our rural fire departments a ton. On the North Bank fire up in the Bandon country last Labor Day, the structure fire departments came together, helped us, and saved 3 or 4 homes that would have burned down, maybe more. So we rely on our rural fire departments, and thank you guys for your efforts that you do. And we also rely on our Forest Service partners, and I will call it a partnership because it is a damn good partnership. We said we haven't seen each other since for a while, right? But we can juke and jive because we know each other. We've been in the trenches. And so people that are in the trenches know how to work together. So appreciate that effort there. So, and I would just say that we've been in this room a lot, and this is the best group of people I've had in this room because usually I'm standing up here briefing a team that's coming in here. So we appreciate not doing that. And hopefully we'll have a successful summer and we don't have to do that. In briefing the AAs, the agency administrators yesterday around the state, we talked a lot about leaders' intent and delegations of our authority to fire teams, how we control those teams, how we influence direction, making sure that the teams get up to speed, understand what we're passionate about, where we want lines placed, all that gyration that we do with fire teams. And it's an effort that we do between the agency administrators, and it'd be, for example, myself and Dan or Merv, and we work together collaboratively to have for a common goal of making sure fires get put out so we can protect our communities and the resources. And so that's muchly appreciated, and you're making our jobs a lot easier. We bring teams in from Georgia. Them guys like sweet tea. For Christ's sakes, how can you drink sweet tea, right? But I mean, so you deal with people from all over the United States, and we've had a lot of success based on our partnership, so I really appreciate that. I would say currently, in the current situation going into this fire season, I mentioned the lack of rain, the blessing of the rain we've had. We are having a hard time hiring young people. And some of it's based on the COVID environment, the unemployment, we're having a hard time getting young kids to engage. So we're constantly working on changing our model. We need housing for these young people. They're willing to come in from other states to help us fight fire, but there's no housing. So we're working on some housing, maybe through FEMA, to set up some trailers in various spots within our district to house these people so that we can have good firefighters. So we're working on that. We're also working on a different helicopter platform so we can get in the backcountry. I was talking to Wade and Merv and Dan about this, and a different platform where we'll have helitack crews and stuff like that we can bring into this country and kind of upgrade what we're doing. So we're constantly trying to get better. We're constantly taking input. We're constantly evaluating the seasons, the fires, the fuels, all that stuff we're constantly working toward because we do win the battle in the wintertime, and it makes it successful in the summertime, and building the relationships is key to all that. So with that, have a great summer. I hope you come down and visit and soak my feet in the Rogue River or the Chetco and not have to worry about AA briefings and influence and things with these guys. So thank you very much.
So, Jim Watson. I work for the city of Brookings. We cover 2 rural districts down around Brookings, but I also have served since 2012 as the Fire Defense Board Chief. And basically, my role is just to coordinate all of the structural fire departments. And since I started as a volunteer in Brookings in 1991. And I've seen a lot of our focus go from 1991 to where we are at today in a lot of wildland posture. When I got here, I was a Forest Service firefighter when I got here. Some of the shifting around and budgets and that. So I know how important it is that we, are ready. In fact, we were out last night and scaring people up on Social Security bar because we had about 6, 7 fire engines down there drafting firefighters in yellow and green gear, learning the skills that are going to help us out. And just to go off of what Merv and Mike have said, that it's a concerning year just because of how dry it is. But I know that all of your volunteers that you have in your communities, at your fire departments, are training. We have a good rapport with everybody from Langlois to Agnes down to Winchuck, that somebody picks up a phone and says we need something, and we'll get equipment rolling. As Merv said, when the Klondike fire, the team thought it was in bed, it was the rural fire departments that were up there with Coos Forest Patrol that were up there and probably saved a lot of structures that night, because I came down here and the team that was here didn't even know that anything was going on, and I told them they need to start listening to the sheriff radios. They had fire within 200 feet of houses. So we had Bandon came down, or Coos County came down with a strike team or a task force, and the Curry County sent a task force up, and they were the ones with the Coos Forest guys and some of the Forest Service people that were up there. That's what saved a lot of Agnes up there that night. So we're up, we're ready. I wasn't prepared to speak a lot. I just like to answer questions. So, but to just reiterate with Mike too, volunteerism. Our volunteerism in most of our rural districts are down. So if we can get that talking point out, a lot of us are just running around shoestring. Even the city of Brookings, on days I'll have maybe 3 or 4 volunteers that can show up for calls, and that includes some structure fires. So it's just we're having to think outside the box. We're getting automatic aid with a lot of different fire departments, so you see a lot of different engines coming to things these days. But like I said, your volunteers that you have in this communities. They're committed and they're ready to respond. They're training. So, thank you.
Okay, Tyson Krieger, Gold Beach Fire Chief. I've been Fire Chief in Gold Beach now for, close to be coming into my 6th year. So echoing some of the things that these guys have said, and then also Chief Watson, when I got on Gold Beach, 5.5, 6 years ago, we had very limited resources for wildland, and then we have these little things pop up in our landscape, and so the concept is even how we were fighting fire in Central Curry. Can you guys hear me? No? The way we're fighting fire in Central Curry, we've started changing it up a little bit. We've done a few things. We probably invested in about 10 times the amount of wildland equipment that we had 5.5, 6 years ago with engines, the really cool one you guys see out in the parking lot. It's done a lot of work for us. It's well outfitted. We have a couple other rigs that are similarly outfitted. The amount of training that we tried to get our guys, Coos Forest Patrol has hugely helped because of their ability to get us the wildland training that we need to get us up to where we had a bunch of people that were Type 1 and Type 2 certified. It's been a huge change, and we've got the concept now that our city administrator, where they used to like to keep us inside the bridges, basically south of the Rotor River Bridge and north of Hunter Creek, our concept now is if Merv's people, Russ's people, Derwin's people need us to go out, we would rather take our resources out and stop those fires before they make it into town. So in Central Fire 2, we've also worked, and Pistol River Fire Chief here, Richard Little, he's involved in it. We have an auto aid agreement. So one thing that we tried to do to help bolster our resources, because of, again, what Chief Watson was talking about with the low numbers that we have in the area, we are trying to pool our resources and pool our resources quickly. So we know that in the event of a wildland event, we need to know what our place is. We don't have the resources to really give these guys a lot, but we have the resources to do some, and we know what those are. We supply water, we try to hold lines, we keep equipment going, and that's what we try to get good at. That's what we try to have the equipment for. So we're going to continue to work with that. We are working on some bigger things down the road with some training capabilities that we're going to have in the area, possibly trying to get a training center here, high focus on wildland. We've got a lot to talk about there over the next couple of years to see how that's going to go. But we're going to continue to go down this path. We're going to continue to push the wildland side of things. In our district, we have between 2 and 4 structure fires a year. Not that those aren't important, but it's a very small box. When you start having these wildland events, your box can get very large very quick. We went to Lobster Creek, my crew, Derwin's crew, July 1st of 2018? Yes. 2018. We went to a 20 by 20 fire. When I got there, it was probably 100 by 200, and within 20 minutes, it was pushing 150 acres. I mean, it went as fast as I've ever seen a fire go, and it's a wind-driven fire. So we're seeing that more and more, echoing what they've all said before me. We're seeing a bit of a change in our fire seasons. They're coming earlier, they're lasting longer. We're getting different kind of wind events, and whatever reason it is, doesn't make any difference. We need to be prepared for it. So we're trying to do that, trying to work on better partnerships, better relationships, better equipment, and better training. So any questions? When we get there, we'll do it.
Ranger Mcmaster.
All right. Is this thing on? Yes, it is. It's great to see everybody's faces tonight, so I just had to say that. So I'm Wade Mcmaster. I'm the district ranger of Gold Beach Ranger District. I've been here coming up on 3 years, actually. First half was up in Powers and then down here. And so I got to experience a little bit of the Klondike when it came, and I saw that towards the end when it blew up again. And it just really showed the seriousness of what fire does when the season says it's not good fire. And so, and we have to act. And so my job basically here is to implement everything that this guy just said earlier, and make sure that I have rock stars on board like Russell back there that'll actually get the work done. And then most of all, the fact that my job is to just be a part of this community And, you know, my wife and kids, we all live here in Gold Beach. And to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing to be good partners for all of you guys. And, you know, I feel very blessed to be here. And I'm not much of a fire guy myself right now, but I'm working on it. I think I was on a fire in '89 as on an OC crew, but I'm a people person, and it is really important to me that I work really well with the people in my community, because the time I've been here, I love it. And I want to make sure that it's protected and it's safe. And, you know, going back to saying my job is to implement what Merv said, you know, it's also to share that passion for that leader's intent, that we want to keep the fires out of here when it's not safe to have fire on the ground. And so that's what I'm here for. So if you see my red truck out in front of the district office, you're always free to stop by and say hi. So, thanks.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Dan Quinones. I'm the Acting Fire and Aviation Staff Officer for the Rotor Siskiyou National Forest. So if you folks aren't familiar with the entire forest, we have 1.8 million acres of coverage on our protection. We got the Powers Ranger District to our north. You should be familiar with the Gold Beach Ranger District you're standing on. We also have the Wild Rivers Ranger District outside of Cave Junction. We have the Siskiyou Mountains Ranger District, which encompasses the areas of Ashland, etc. And then we have our High Cascades Ranger District, which is up in Prospect. I share that with you because that's a complex landscape. We got 10 inches of rain at Red Mound. We didn't get that amount of rain over to the east. Cascade Crest really puts a hurt on the rain flow going that direction. So when maybe it's rainy and cool and nice here, it might not be that way on our other coverage areas. So for that protection, 1.8 million acres of our public lands that we help manage for you and with you in conjunction with our partners here, we have 125 firefighters. That's what we have for 1.8 million acres. And we've bent the ear to everyone in our agency through Merv and others to try and lobby for more resources, and we continue to do that. But I don't want you to leave here thinking that that's all they have. 1.8 million acres, we're not in a good spot. So diving down a little bit deeper, when we have our National Weather Service talk about days with abundant lightning on dry fuels, scattered lightning, a chance of lightning, any of those triggers, we take heed, we take note, we really hone in on where those are at. We pull up the data. We have fire planners at our Medford office. We have specialists that are looking at that, and we do not take that lightly. We've developed a tiered approach for different levels of those predictions. If it's scattered lightning and we have some moisture conditions, we might go to a level 1, which is bringing in some additional severity resources. So Merv talked about our preparedness levels nationwide, PL1 to PL5. Currently, the nation is in a PL2. If you look at some of the fires down in Arizona, Four Corners area, they're looking to go to a PL5. They've had plume-dominated large fires, Chetco-type fires, 9-10 days in a row, even at night. That's the resource draw. So we try and prepare and make sure that we're ahead of that with that plan. We bring those folks in. We have identified staging areas at the J. Herbert Stone Nursery. You may have heard of Agnes. That's one of our favorite spots to go. And we pump that place full of resources, aviation, and the management to make sure that they're successful and they're safe. Merv's leader's intent's pretty clear, and it's pretty easy. I can even understand it. Put out all fires quickly, keep them as small as possible, and be as safe as possible in doing so. Pretty simple, right? 1.8 million acres, 125 firefighters in complex terrain. This is some of the toughest terrain in the nation. And I've had the pleasure of fighting fires in most of these states, in the lower 48, Alaska, and even Canada. This is some tough ground, but our firefighters are proud. We're proud to stand next to our partners here when we're out on the fire ground. And you should be really, have a sense of ease, at least today anyway. The level of engagement that we have, and I want to recognize Cord as well for remembering all of us and some of the history. And to be honest, he and I have had some tough conversations here in 17 around the Chetco Bar Fire, Derwin, etc. They weren't easy, but we will be as transparent as possible about what we're doing, share that with you, and there may be some tough conversations, but that's how we're going to get better. We do believe that we're a learning culture. We want to promote that. We want to be inclusive. We want to hear what you folks have to say. And we're not in the business of hiding things. We have what we have. We will be aggressive. We will respond. We've also increased our aviation response this year. So keeping fires as small as possible and putting them out as quickly as possible. We're going to be launching our aircraft more aggressively this year. We also have a Type 1 helicopter, which is the large helicopters, 2,500 gallons at a shot, addition to the one that we already have and our rappel platform. So we're bringing those assets in, and when you have limited resources, complex terrain, and varying fire levels, we have to be creative. Every day, we're thinking about what can we do better? What question have we not asked? Who have we not asked that question to? You know, Mike talked about getting a higher performance helicopter for his ground. I've actually approached our regional aviation group and said, hey, we've had a history of having a lot of aircraft out here, and it gets a little smoky at times. Those aircraft can't fly when they can't see more than a half mile. We have a new contract cycle. Why don't we look at maybe using some instrument ratings, getting some different qualifications for those pilots, different technology within that aircraft so that we can at least move them around and go where they need to be to continue to provide that service. Not saying that's going to happen, but that's one of the questions that I've asked. So appreciate your time. And again, it's great to see you folks without a column behind us. Hopefully you have a great evening and look forward to questions. Thanks.
Last does not mean least, especially in your case.
Well, what about Russell? He's back there being awful quiet. Yeah, Mike did that too. I'm done, Chief. I'm Derwin Boggs. I'm the unit forester here in Gold Beach and in charge of the Gold Beach unit of the Coos Forest Patrol. And that runs from the Coquille River to the California border. And, you know, all these guys talking, the good thing about going last is they talk about partnerships and relationships with each other. We had a little fire last year south of Port Orford, and Tyson was there, Forest Service was there, a little 4.5 acre fire under a power line. I think we had 9 or 10 agencies there on that fire within a matter of minutes. Excuse me. And it was amazing how we all worked together. It was almost, we were almost too many of us there. You can never have that on a fire, but that's what relationships are about and partnerships are about, what we do here in Curry County. We knocked that fire down, had it out, and I think we were on a week patrol on it. And it could have been a devastating fire for the county. But I just don't have much more to say because my boss, Mike Robinson, talks about all the good stuff that it's important, but I can guarantee in the Gold Beach area, in the Port Orford area, Curry County area, we got you covered with the relationships and partnerships we have here. So it's amazing what we can do in just a matter of minutes to put a little fire like that out. So, and Court, appreciate you doing this for us all the time. We talk regularly, almost every day, maybe too much sometimes, but we appreciate Forest Service and Jim, Gold Beach Fire, and all the local fire departments. They're great partners, so we're lucky to have them. That's all I got. Russell's got something to say.
Hey, talk fuel reductions.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. The good fire.
Hey, you're part of this team, too.
That's true.
Don't you forget it.
Hello, everybody. Russell Wilstead, the Fire Management Officer for the Gold Beach and Powers Ranger District. My first day here was actually August 21st, 2017. That's when I started. Which we all...
I said, hey, thanks for showing up, boy.
Yeah. And I remember that day there's the Chetco Bar Fire and then also a beach fire happened the same day. So anyway. But I guess I want to talk about just some of the fuels work, that good fire that we're doing on the ground. In fact, our crews right now, when they're working or prepping to do a couple of prescribed burns this fall, up around Wild Horse, and then also, where's the other place? Long Ridge, up to Chetco. So this past fall, we've completed 36,000 piles of burning for about 1,500 acres, which when I first got here, we had hundreds of piles. So that was, we've really been beefing up on our fuels work. So I think that's really all about I have to say because everything else was covered, but thanks, good to be here with you guys.
We were saving that chair for you the whole time. Certainly would not want to leave out the Oregon State Fire Marshal's service. many times that both fires, we'd be with them here, and that time represented by Jim Walker, who was a Curry County native, and he was the fire marshal under the Oregon State Police program. And so I got a wonderful note here from Mariana Ruiz Temple. She was on our fire call last year. We did the teleconference as opposed to a meeting, which we also had Glenn Casamasa, regional supervisor, 17 National Forests, and he contributed a lot. Merv had to go second on that one. But she wrote something that I think is real important to Curry County, and she has asked us to be aware of Senate Bill 762, which is part of the Wildfire Recovery Council of the governor. I served on that council, and it's the omnibus bill that we worked on very hard. It's going to the Joint Ways and Means Committee, and if that passes, it's going to be a lot of funding, especially for rural fire departments. And you asked me about that earlier, Hill, which I really appreciate. She just wanted to highlight that a little bit, and it hasn't passed yet, but we have our fingers crossed. The report contains 37 specific recommendations grouped into 4 goals, and here they are. 1, create fire-adapted communities. Goes without saying. Number 2, restore and maintain resilient landscapes. Number 3, respond safely and effectively to wildfire. Number 4, cross-functional support system. That's, I think, one of the main reasons we're here tonight. She's been tracking our Curry Rogue Siskiyou Regional Fire Training Center that Tyson especially has been working on for several years now, and we're progressing nicely there. So she's watching that closely. She wanted to communicate to everybody here there'll be ways that, additional ways to collaborate on our fire defense vision. And as the part of the Oregon State Fire Marshal program, would like to assist with opportunities to bolster the preparedness, the equipment and capacity, which will help meet those needs, especially given Curry Pass fire history. The Wildland Urban Interface Grant Program was established during 2021 to assist Oregon Fire Service with grants to increase the preparedness and response efforts. This grant is with a priority to agencies that suffered loss during the 2021 fire season. That should be 2020 fire season, and will also provide services in under capacity and underserved areas. That's where the world needs are going to be highlighted, and we have to compete for those, and we can, and we will. Through her efforts and the OSF program, we were able to get grants for $4.1 million in 100 different agencies. She remains optimistic that with the bills in the current legislative session, we may see more funds beyond that. And quote here, I'm hopeful that Curry County fire agencies will apply for equipment, apparatus, PPEs, training, and other needs as it relates to the WI grant, unquote. And I worked with her, and I know everybody here has worked with her in her office and other people in the Oregon State Fire Marshal system, and just can't say enough again there. I overlooked introducing Jerry Lynn Townsend and her daughter Katrina Upton, lifetime family members of Curry County, lost their homes, at least parts of their homes, and a lot of family property there. I'll never forget how you handled that, Jerry. I mean, you were remarkable with the suffering and the sadness, and your family, just great citizens in this county, and I really appreciate you being here, and part of the Tuala-Dene tribe, and welcome. Talawa. I'm sorry there. And then also Judy Collins, I've had the privilege of working with you, the Red Cross for a couple of years, several fire seasons now, and we were going to turn the microphone over to you if you'd like to say just a couple quick words. Okay.
Hi. It's so nice to see all of you, and I have to tell you that I am privileged to see all of you again, Chief Krieger. My home was saved by these charming men on the beach fire. And then 3 days later, Liz Colco, my other Red Cross volunteer pal over there, had the shelter at Riley Creek during Chetco Bar. And Liz and I, the third day of the Labor Day event, we were over in Jackson County with the Red Cross helping out at the expo, and then Liz got brought home. She runs the supply operation for almost the western half of the United States for the Red Cross. So when the babies run out of diapers, Liz gets them for her. I do transportation, and I had the privilege of doing training at the wildfires. And you've reminded me of a whole lot of different things. And Court, you need to know, on the third day of the wildfire, when Liz and I were at Jackson Expo, he called and said, the sheriff wants to know what's happening. What's our plan? So it wasn't anywhere near us. It wasn't moving near us, but these guys were paying attention and keeping you all safe. So the Red Cross is in the county. We're ready. We've got shelters set up. We will not be putting you in hotels this year. If we need to, we will be putting you in congregate shelters, but with much different spacing. And we have feeding agreements in place. And if there's a thing that you need, if any of you want us to come speak to any of your organizations, we're happy to do that for you. And Mariana actually was part of our training. We had a 2-week-long training academy this May, and Mariana was our keynote speaker. And she's an amazing lady and really has this part of the country on her radar map. It's nice to know that the fire marshal has us in her back pocket. Thank you, sir.
I'm going to stand up for this one. I want to tell a quick story, and then we want to just open up for questions. But on September 9th, we had a commissioners meeting, and I warned the board that Mike Robinson might be calling me anytime. And I was dreading that call. But he called me, and I stepped out of the office, or the hearing room, and I said, okay, Mike, give it to him. He says, Phoenix and Talon may be gone. And I said, what do you mean? I know what he meant. But he said, it might be 2,000 homes. I said, lives lost. He says, we don't know yet. I've never lost a child, but that's what it felt like at that moment. I could just visualize 2,000 homes, families, in that kind of trauma, and what it meant to Oregon, what it would mean for the comeback of people trying to overcome losing their homes. I've never had to deal with that. But I'll never forget it. Mike, I appreciated that call. I know how it impacted you. I know how it impacted everyone here, everyone in this room. And so what little bit I contribute to bringing these meetings together is nothing compared to the lifetime careers of fighting wildland fires and the dangers involved with that. I have it pretty easy. And so all I can say is thanks, guys, and all of your programs, all of your people that you steward, that you lead, and the efforts you made. And thank you. I just want to open up for questions. And Britt, if you wouldn't mind, would you do the microphone thing? Questions? You gotta hold the mic real close.
Jerry Thompson, and I want to thank you guys for being here. This is awesome, and I don't want our situation any way to minimize what happened in Phoenix and Talent, because we used to live in Talent, and so we had friends and family that lived over there. So anyway, I had a couple questions for you, Merv, and I know you weren't on the Chetco Bar Fire. I understand that. One of the questions was the lightning. It happened, well, I mean, we were told the fire started on July 12th. The lightning storm was on June 26th. So we ordered a map of the strikes. Well, the strikes aren't matching the first aerial view of the fire. And then to hear Court, you had this meeting on July 7th, that would have been 12 days after the lightning storm, and nobody knew there was a fire. Is there some sort of, I know I'm technology illiterate, but is there some flights we can do after a lightning storm to see the heat thing there that we didn't do then? And the other question I have in regards to that, in the FOIA documents that we got, We come to find out, I think it was ODF that had the first helicopters there, and they were searching out the fire from Merlin and Grants Pass area. And one of the pilots went down to get a dip out of the Chetco River, and lo and behold, there's 10 55-gallon barrels. You can't pack them in the wilderness. You can't drive them in the wilderness. How did they get in the wilderness, and how were they half a mile from the start of the fire? Nobody's answered that, and it's like, in my experience, in my lifetime, a 55-gallon drum carried gas or diesel. You know, I just don't know, we don't know the answer to that. So those are my two questions, but hearing this conversation, it seems like the Achilles heel for us up to Chetco is the wilderness area. We can't really do anything in the wilderness area, and that's where all the lightning is striking. So can you help us when that lightning strikes and let us know so we can do something?
Right. Hi, Jerry. Nice to see you. So as far as the facts checking for the Chetco, I will get back to you because I don't know any of those facts. So Dan and I will get back to you with those questions. I still have your email. Yeah, I haven't learned that narrative, so I need to do some investigation myself. As far as lightning strikes, so the Klondike fire. Many of you probably wondered, well, we have a strike in the Kalmiopsis, why don't you just go put it out? The problem was we had 100 fires going at once. It wasn't like there was just the one in the Kalmiopsis. We had fires that were near Merlin. We had fires that were near Ashland. We had fires that were near Medford, and they were near homes, life, and property. We spread ourselves out as thin as we could get with our partners, and we ran out of firefighters. By the time we were able to put a lot of those other ones out that you don't hear about today, because we were successful on those, that's why you don't hear about them today. We got aerial resources and people out there to the Klondike, and we were fighting that thing tooth and nail. All we needed was just that extra helicopter or that large air tanker. We just needed that thing, but it was never available because they were dealing with other fires, not just in our area, but across the region. And I remember this day because I was asking for an air tanker. And I am not afraid to use an air tanker in the wilderness, nor am I afraid to use bulldozers in the wilderness. I was actually the first agency administrator in the history of Oregon to ask for dozer authorization for the Forest Service. And I actually got it. But by the time we got the dozer to where we needed, the fire blew past. And it didn't make any sense anymore to use it because we lost our time. Our moment was past. So we didn't end up using it. But my point to that is I'm pointing to an intent. I've already authorized my staffs on the 1.8 million acres that if we need chainsaws, if we need UTVs, if we need water pumps, mechanized equipment to help our firefighters be successful in fighting initial attack in wilderness, you already have it. I gave them the authorization. Yes, and all wildernesses that we have. Forest-wide, 1.8 million acres. I am not going to send my firefighters to a bar fight with one hand behind their back.
That's the Achilles heel.
The air tanker story I was telling you about. They tried 3 different times to drop a load of retardant on the Klondike. And the canyon was just too steep. And it was just not safe enough for that DC-10 to go down and to come out. 3 different approaches. They weren't able to do it. Yes, go ahead.
When we first met, your quote was, "I'm going to paint the wilderness red." Okay? As you delegate authority to incident commands to run your show their way. Are you going to do that? Are you going to tell them to paint the wilderness red, throw in dozers if you need to? Because they operate independently, and once you give it to them, they run with it their way. That's been our experience at Chetco Bar Fire. It fell apart, okay, because of someone that didn't know what they were doing, okay? As far as lightning strikes go, no one detected that lightning strike. An airline pilot says he did, okay? We do privately overflights when lightning strikes come by, are on our own, okay? Because we don't trust the electronics and the satellites and all the rest of it. So could you answer those two questions?
Yes.
Or observations?
Yes. So again, I know we love to talk about Chetco Bar, and there's a lot of lessons learned in Chetco Bar. Trust me when I say that. We have definitely made some differences since then. The way we communicate. I believe we are one of the most transparent areas, every single one of us, sitting here like a firing squad today. I knew these were going to be some tough conversations, but I'm up for this challenge. Being a forest supervisor is not for the weak of heart. I was also a former tribal chairman, and it's the same job. It really is. Guy mentions letters of delegation. Incident commanders don't come here on my watch and do independent actions. They do exactly what I tell them in that letter of delegation.
Will it include paint the wilderness red?
And when you look at the Klondike fire, rough guess, how many air tanker loads did we put on that Klondike fire? No, on Klondike.
I remember that. I said, man, you're going to have to talk to the region, come Tuesday, because it was on a weekend.
We used a lot. We used a lot. I'll get you the numbers. But Kalmiopsis Wilderness had a lot of retardant on it, on the Klondike.
True. We know that. But it wasn't on our side. And that's the problem. And we need reassurances that this isn't going to happen again. There's 160,000 acres of abandoned forest by the Forest Service, blowouts, old trees, snags, you name it, it's all there. And the last time the Forest Service went in there, oh, we can't go there, it's snags. Oh, we can't go there, the depth's too high. Those are things we want assurances for. Are you going to do the right thing?
I'm always going to do the right thing. I'll answer that one. I'll tell you what we're up against. So Dan Q shares our numbers for our firefighters. We have 1.8 million acres. How many Forest Service employees outside of those 125 do you think we have to manage the entire 1.8 million acres? Any guesses? We have 130 actually is our number, employees. I guarantee you there is a lot of places that need restoration work on this 1.8 million acres. We don't have enough people, we don't have enough money, and we don't have enough time. We are utilizing ODF to help us sell our timber sales. We are doing everything we can to do proper active management to reduce the hazardous fuels. I can guarantee you one thing. Here's another little tidbit for you. In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of the Slater fire chaos, the Alameda fire, as well as the South Oban chain, I was vacated out of my house for 11 days, evacuated from Shady Cove because of the Oban chain fire. I've never been an agency administrator on a fire before when I'm personally evacuated. I was staying on a friend's couch in Grants Pass. My deputy forest supervisor, Kathy Westonsko Davis, had a brand new home, freshly married, in Talent, and it burned to the ground. We've seen some things last year that I've never seen on a personal level. But I can guarantee you, there is no lack of commitment from the 130 employees that I do have. We're doing everything we can. We're working with groups like Loma Katsi. We got Youth Corps coming out there to help us reduce the hazard fuels. We're working with tribes. We're partnering with the Coquille tribe right now to do some fuels reduction in the Sequetza forest. We're utilizing the Good Neighbor Authority, ODF. They're selling timber sales for us. But in the middle of all that chaos, we met our timber target last year. We sold 40 million board feet of timber in the middle of all that chaos. So are we trying the best that we can? Absolutely we are. And I will stand behind that effort every single day of the week. But is it enough? No. Did you see Russell light up when he was talking about the piles we're doing? That's good stuff. That's commitment. Do we need more of it? Yes. With your help and your advocacy, we need your support. We need your help. We don't need your bullets flying at us. We need your help. And someday, maybe we'll earn your trust. By golly, I'm going to try.
I have two more questions, but well, I'll just limit it to one.
Anybody else had a question? Hang on, guys. Anybody else had a question? Cam, okay. We'll come back to you. And by the way, Jerry's email is really easy, horsepowerranch@gmail.com. Cam?
Will I get in trouble if I make observations and not ask questions?
It's okay.
Okay. First of all, Mike, you made the comment about working with the power companies. For a lot of us citizens, that's a hard sell. And I'm sure you're aware of that. Some of us don't like that idea at all. The second thing, Mike, that you made a comment that the Chetco Bar Fire was a real eye-opener for you. For a lot of us that live in Brookings, it was not an eye-opener. We knew exactly what was going to happen. And I don't say that with 2020 hindsight. At the beginning, we knew, we could predict. We would have bet tons of money on what the outcome of that was going to be. So when you make comments, and I understand you have a whole career of fire background that you rest on, but that is a red flag when you make comments like that to me. Merv, you used an expression, and I think that it indicates the tremendous difference in culture between the fire culture, I would say the fire culture, and the rest of the world, because you put a heavy emphasis and you take great pride in fire management. From those of us outside of the fire culture, our expression would be fire extinguishment. There is a picture of fire management that is very much opposed to fire extinguishment. So there's a different way of looking at things from your perspective and from our perspective, those of us that live in the community. Now, to change gears here for a minute, we've had a travel issue or a road blockage issue down outside of Brookings. It's on Forest Service land. Wade was made aware of that, Merv was made aware of that, and that was, I think, last week, and here we are Tuesday night, and that is already, there's been a contract signed or an agreement agreed upon with a local company to repair that slide, and that's a significant slide. But that is one of those things, and that's good news. To me, that's good news. And when the Forest Service does well, I think we need to recognize that. And this is a case where I think that you got right on track and you've done very well. And I think all of us in the Brookings area really appreciate it. Hopefully the company that's going to do this will complete their task quickly. And finally, Russell Wilstead, you answered a question that I wasn't even going to ask, but it had to do with Long Ridge, what's going on up there. And because there's a lot of activity that I didn't understand until you spoke tonight. So I do appreciate what your folks are doing in mitigating any hazards that we have down there. It shows. I didn't know what I was looking at. I do now. So thank you very much.
I think we have time for one more question. Okay, we'll come back. Go ahead, Guy, and then we're going to go to Mr. Code.
Thank you. We relative to the cultural issue, that was drummed into our head. It was a managed fire. Drummed into our head daily. Our influence in our groups, we've got 3 different groups, 14, 39, and over 500. And we resolved that a managed fire is not the way to go about handling fires in our part of Siskiyou River, Road River Siskiyou Forest. And we started to assemble our own view of putting fires out. Air resources, fire trucks, and people. What would happen if you intend to manage a fire if we decided to go put it out now? What would happen? What would the Forest Service do if we threw 2 helicopters with 120-gallon, 200-gallon buckets on a small fire that you were going to let burn in the wilderness? That's the question.
Chetco Bar was the only fire. Pretty much. There's one just south of the border, but that went out pretty fast. The Chetco Bar, we know we saw it smolder for several days. I'm in the sheriff's office with the Gold Beach Ranger District that basically begged her to hit that fire with everything she had. You just heard Supervisor George saying, we know this to be fact. When the Klondike hit, there were fires everywhere, absolutely everywhere. California was essentially half on fire. So I'm taking it at his word. I've seen the action, I've seen the effort, I've seen the progress, and I've also seen the opposition that's on the other side of the people in this room that are hammering his people continually. And that's what we're up against. That's why he said we need the help. We're here. Good.
Court, if I can I actually respond? So, remember that website I asked you all to learn? NIFC, National Interagency Fire Center. A link on that site, it's called the SIT reports, which is short for situation reports. Every single national fire that has a team on it will have these forms called a 209. Why are these important? Because on the very first page of a 209, you will see what is the fire management strategy being used on that fire. Now, so I get it, we're talking semantics here. I will tell you every fire is managed. One strategy is full suppression. Another strategy is resource benefits. So if you see a fire on that SIT report on the front page that says, this fire is being managed for resource benefits, that, I believe, is what you're saying is what you don't want to see, because it's anything other than full suppression. Sure. This is important. Yeah.
So when you say full suppression, I think that gives the community a good feeling. From my standpoint, I realize what we really need is extinguishing. Right. So there's words mean things, and so there's a difference in what you're saying. You're saying full suppression. That means something in your we want full and complete extinguishment.
Okay. So to clarify that, you heard a philosophy that we're using on this forest. Hopefully this is clean English. Put the fire out as quickly, as safely, and as small as you can. There was a reason why that is a mantra that every single partner of mine will say of what's important to me. Hopefully that helps understand where I'm coming from. I gave you a real good reason why I don't think you can have resource benefit fires here. You've got the trifecta, that's always a worry in the hottest parts of the year. If you have a resource benefit fire that you didn't put out on purpose and you get that trifecta, it's not gonna be good. But the bigger worry for me, if I get a fire in June and I decide not to put it out, and then come September when we know those fires come out of the backcountry, because they always do, and I'm asking for hotshot crews and air support because I need to protect our communities. Oh, sorry, Merv, we're in PL level 5 and everybody's in Colorado. Unable to fill is the response I get back from dispatch. That is one of the main reasons you don't do anything other than full suppression. Put it out. That's what that means to me. Full suppression means put it out. Britt.
Yes, I just have a question. I think this was part of your question, sir, and not a long answer, maybe it's just yes or no, but it sounded like there was a concern that if they went and put it out with their own private helicopters, are they going to be sued, or are we allowed to go ahead and do that?
We've had people try that before and they've died.
Right, I understand.
So
Is that a no?
they're going to be in trouble if we catch them out there trying to do something when we have management of the fire. If we don't have management, we're still an initial attack. It's all hands on deck when we're trying to get a fire when you first find it. So there's some judgment involved in that. But don't get yourself killed over a mantra. Please. We have professionals that are well trained. So hopefully that answers the question. Sit report, 209s, you'll see what was the strategy.
Wow. Last question, is your mic working? Here you go.
Helped if I turned it on, right? I start out with a relatively small question for the fire chief here in Curry District about fires on the beach. I can't help commenting on the things I've heard tonight. I spent 25 plus years in the federal government. Some of it was with the Inspector General's office. I don't think people fully understand that the people in Washington, D.C. don't really know what's going on in the West. And you take gentlemen like these folks up there that are willing to put their rear end on the line to do what they have to do, often creates problems from Washington, D.C. down. So, I'd just like to compliment you on that. It's not an easy job, and you do it. I heard from court 4 years ago that there were some great changes coming to the Forest Service, and I think you mentioned Rocky, and I think it should be known you folks do good work, and everybody's trying, and we learn from things, but dealing with Washington, D.C. is not an easy task. They do not think anybody on the West Coast has any brains at all. And I often fought with them over that. But my question was beach fires. I was on the homeowners board last year for Sebastian Shores. We continuously have people rent homes down there and build beach fires, and we call and you respond. But I think you need to get a little more serious with them and start giving them a citation, or at least identify what unit they're renting so the board can take some action against the owners. There's 9 of us in there that live there full time. And it's, last night there was a fire about 10 o'clock. And I probably should have called, but I got a little lax because of the rain and I didn't. So pardon my voice, but this is part of the smoke from last October that put me in the hospital and still have problems. So
who's the question for me or for him?
both of you, because we could.
I'll start with it. Okay. So between the South Jetty, the Rogue River, and Kissing Rock, that's where I come in. Everything outside of that is the Coquille River, and to the California border is this fella here. So our typical rule, and you correct me anytime I veer off course here, we go into fire season, so we come in at low, right? So you can still have a fire on the beach legally until we get too high. Okay, right. That has been our, as Curry County and the Fire Defense Board chiefs and everybody all together, we've agreed to follow Coos Forest Patrol. That way there's one rule everywhere. Everybody knows what's going on, there's no confusion. So we've done that in the past. I will say this year, I love my city administrator to death, and anybody that says anything different is wrong. I love my city administrator to death. However, this year, she kind of piqued my Cheerios a little bit, and she decided she was going to put a little thing out that said no burning on the beach at all starting now. I told her it was going to be a problem because of this interagency cooperation that we have. We've done it this way in the past, and we have not had problems with people's fires. I cannot tell you one case where we had somebody's normal little campfire, a tourist, for instance, that has caused a significant fire in our area. We've had transient fires by the droves. 90% of our fires are caused by transients that come through the area or are semi-permanent residents here. They've been the bulk of our fires for the last 5 years, or at least since I've been chief. About 8% of our calls down on the beach involve, now these are fires that have escaped their original borders. They're not where they're supposed to be anymore. About 8% of those calls are going to be kids, young adults playing with fireworks. Our largest fire that we've had on the beach, I do believe, based on everything we could determine, that the lighthouse fire that you discussed was likely started with kids and fireworks. And then that last 2%, give or take, are fires that a tourist would have that has gotten out of control. Now, there's many times when we get called down to Sebastian Shores in front of you guys' place, the fairgrounds, 5th place, the Memorial and South Jetty, where we go down there to a fire that's actually completely legal because of A, the time of year it is, the location of the fire. It's over 50 feet away from grass. It's over 15 feet away from accumulated debris. It's 3 foot or less in size. Those are legal fires during the right time of year. So although we do make a lot of trips down to the beach and we actually patrol the beach at night, sometimes those fires aren't actually illegal fires. The ones that we are looking for, those, once we go into high, those, we can no longer have fires there. The size of the fire, the location of the fire, we just wrote a citation. What day was that? You were there. You made a huge impression on the gentleman. We do write citations. We write citations in a couple places. When you're being just outlandishly stupid, or if you think you need to run your mouth. Because our point is to educate people, to try to educate them on fire danger, why what they're doing is not safe. We don't just want to start giving them coupons, you know. That doesn't necessarily fix the problem. Education probably goes a long ways further than a court date. If you end up having somebody that's recurring, or somebody that has a problem, had a problem often, not so much on the beach, but even at a residence, where you're going back, because tourists don't necessarily usually get in trouble with the same problem more than once. Then you start looking at the citations to try to up your game a little bit. But that's kind of where we're at really right now. And as far as the unofficial ban that they put on fires here, I'm going to consider that was her idea of a deterrent, and we're going to continue to go down the same path that we would normally go down, being in conjunction with Coos Forest and Parks.
I think that's great. I think part of the problem we had last year is we would call the city and not get a clear answer. We'd call Coos and say, oh no, you can build it if it's out away from it. And when we finally called, actually, my partner called, it said high fire season. I went out and posted a sign, said no fires. And of course that didn't stop anything, but at least this clears it up, because I read it in the paper that there were no fires and on the beaches. And we take this community very serious, and we take fire very serious. And if that's the policy, I can live with that. But we need to know, when do you want us to call and when don't you want us to call? It takes a lot of resources to come down there.
It does. And a lot of times on those calls, they'll call me. I have my vehicle 24/7. I have been down to the beach probably 15 times this year that I'm taking care of things on my own and didn't dispatch the rest of the department because that's my job and they're sleeping. So we do that. When should you call? So my buddy went over here, he called the other day, he saw a fire, it was spot on. It didn't look like it was where it was supposed to be, so it's closer than 50 feet to grass and debris. Maybe it's high wind. Another key thing is anybody around it. If nobody's around it, it's automatically an illegal fire. It's an unintended fire. It doesn't matter how big it is or how small it is. If there's nobody there, it's too close to other things that are going to burn, or it's high fire season. Those are great things right out of the gate. Make the phone call. That is our job, and it doesn't matter what time of day it is. We're going to throw the resources on it that's required to. I don't care if it's midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's our job. I get paid to do it, my crew volunteered to do it, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Well, you don't have to worry about midnight. Thank you. I appreciate the answer. That helped clarify a lot of things. And again, I'd like to commend you folks. It's hard work keeping everybody happy.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask you a clarifying question? Because we wanted to have a fire on the beach in the ceremony. Of course, it rained out last weekend, but the state, they called the state and the state said, no, can't have fire on the beach. I don't know. It wasn't me that called.
No, that's not true. That may happen, but that's not true right now. We're allowed to have campfires on the beach, on state ocean shores, below the high water mark. They're allowed right now under regulated use. As the weather changes, we get farther into that, it may change to go into high, which are not allowed at that time. So, Coos Forest Patrol contract for state parks, we regulate that below the high water mark on the beaches. So if you have a question, call our office and we'll answer this for you.
This was at Port Orford, and you guys do Port Orford too?
That'd be the same area. They're still out there. Some beaches,
Okay.
if it's a private campground, they may not allow them, but
It was
on state
state
parks,
beach and
they're
they.
allowed right now.
Okay. So somebody got one. Thanks, James.
Do you mind giving them one more round of applause? The average age of our firefighters, especially the rural volunteer fire departments, is going up. And so if you know anyone that wants to volunteer, even if they're a secretary or they want to help raise money or just help anyway, we have 14 volunteer, counting our 3 cities, 14 volunteer fire departments, and they need help. And we need to get that word out. And I know a lot of you are and aware of that. Thank you all. Do you want to bring it back next year? We're going to get tougher questions, aren't we? Thank you again. My name is Court Boyce, Curry County Commissioner. Called this Curry Fire Awareness and Prevention Meeting. It's our 5th annual to just let the people know that it's another potentially volatile season. We've had 3 really tough fire seasons in the last 4 years. Thousands of acres have been lost. In Southern Oregon, over 2,000 homes. So we're ready, we're prepared, we've got a great team. We're anxious to keep the public informed, and we'll be here every day, whatever it takes. And Curry County strong. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Merv George, and I'm the Forest Supervisor for the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest. And this evening, we had a pre-season fire meeting that was open to the community. We had our partner agencies here, and we had a number of staff from the forest that was here to kind of just explain what the weather conditions are looking like, what the fuels conditions are looking like, but also what our strategies are going to be used for this year's fire season. And so much like we've done in the past before, we're looking at utilizing some aggressive initial attack, and we're going to try to catch these fires as small as we can, as safely as we can, and as quickly as we can.
I'm Wade Mcmaster. I'm District Ranger, the Gold Beach Ranger District for the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest. I've been here about 3 years, and today we're talking about our leader's intent when it comes to firefighting. And our intent is that we put it out, we make it as small as we possibly can, and we do it as safely as we can.
Hi, I'm Lynn Townsend. I live up the Upper Tetco. I am here at this fire meeting to ask some questions about the fire situation that's coming up. And we lost the majority of our ranch in the 2017 Chetco Bar Fire. So we're just interested in what's coming this year. We all know that it's been very, very dry, and it's going to be a critical year for fire. So how can we all gather to help? How can we listen to the experts? What do we need to learn? Where do we go from here?
My name is Katrina Upton, and I came to the meeting tonight to hear what the officials had to say on the 2021 fire season, see what we're looking at going forward. Definitely a concerned citizen, as our property was burned in the 2017 Chetco Bar Fire, so very much interested to hear what the officials had to say today, and grateful for the opportunity to be here and having it as a public meeting so that we could attend. Thank you.
My name's Dan Quinones. I'm the Acting Fire and Aviation Staff Officer for the Rotor River Siskiyou National Forest in Southwest Oregon. I'm here tonight to share our preparedness plan with the constituents and the community here in Gold Beach, and to reinforce the relationships that we have here with our partners, whether it be the Coos Forest Protective Association, the BLM here in Southwest Oregon, the ODF. All of our partners play a pretty significant role in protecting Southwest Oregon and the communities that have been threatened for fire for far too long. So appreciate your time.
I'm Jim Watson, the Curry Fire Defense Board Chief and the City of Brookings Fire Chief. I'm here to attend the Curry Wildfire Prevention Meeting, just to give the public an outlook on what we expect for the 2021 fire season, and just to keep informed with the people.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Robinson. I'm the District Manager for Coos Forest Protective Association. I'm based out of Coos Bay, and we protect all the private ground in Coos Curry and part of western Douglas County. We're here today to talk about upcoming fire season, talking about the support we get from the public and what they can expect from us if we have fires in the landscape, which we hope we don't this year. And it was good to see all of our partners, and look forward to having a nice quiet summer in Curry County. Thank you.
My name's Tyson Krieger. I'm the Gold Beach Fire Chief. I've been the Gold Beach Fire Chief since 2015. Took over from former Chief Bruce Floyd. We've tried to have these meetings every year as best we can, depending on what the COVID issues have been, just to try to get the public in line with and understanding what we're trying to do in our communities to more prepare ourselves for fire in the wildland. So we take this opportunity to talk to them about plans that we have, equipment that we're getting, tools and resources that we've collaborated to bring together. And I think overall it's done good over the last few years to help people make people feel a little bit better about what's going on in their local areas.